Chances has some pretty big topics. There's love, there's sex, there's class, there's a lot of big topics. However, the one that kind of stands out the most is Ajoke being a house help. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the way Nigerians have a house help?
The whole house help, house boy, house girl, housemaid, is really ingrained in the culture. And honestly, I don't see that would ever go away, because that is something that's just always been there. However, what we don't want is the abuse. A lot of these children are verbally abused, and I cannot tell you how much so. Some of them are physically abused. Some of them are sexually abused. And some of them just never say anything. They go through all of that. And they have feelings, and they're pained, but they have nobody to kind of help them to get through it. So Ajoke, I'm not going to say Ajoke was lucky, because, but she was in a family, a way that could even send her to school. Because a lot of these kids don't even get the opportunity to go to school. Some do. Some learn a trade. Some go to school. Some do well. You have some good families. But you also have families that don't do anything for these children. So, minimally, I feel like families who bring these young kids should educate them, should help them with something, that unfortunately doesn't happen a lot of the times. But it would be good if they can do that, if they're almost mandated to do that. But that is part of the reason the book is out there, to kind of bring more awareness, to see what can we do. Mrs. Folari, should she have left her in Nigeria? Should she have finished college in Nigeria, as opposed to just take her for her own needs? So those are some of the things that the book really deals with, and it's painful.
I think you made a good point about having it mandated, because essentially, these children are working as child labor. So it seems like you think it would be a good idea if you're going to have child labor, there needs to be some sort of law or something in place that will allow these children to be educated at the same time they're working.
Yeah, because most people can afford it. If you can afford to bring a help, you can afford to take them to school. You can afford to give them the time to study and become something for themselves. You can afford to put them in a trade. You want to be a tailor, you're not smart enough to go to school, or you don't want to go to school, you could be a tailor. You could learn to drive, you could learn to fix hair, just something to help those kids.
Of course, and at the end of the day, it would also be helping them, because if they become a tailor or a driver, those are services that they could also render for them eventually. Yeah. And they've known them since they were a child, so there's that trust there. Would you say that if you have one, having a house help gave you the information that you needed to write Ajoke's story and write about what it's like to be a house help in Nigeria?
When I was growing up, I didn't even think about it. Like you said, home, they were just there. I did have and we called him our brother. We did have a house, was a houseboy that grew up with us. We were all around the same age. We knew his wife, he got married. They had kids. Now his children are getting married. We went home for we sponsor his kids, things like that. But I never really thought about it until I came here. And, relating back to those days, I'm like, really, we don't even think about them, which shouldn't be the case, We should care about what they think, but it's sad, because what they think is insignificant, really,
What is it about Ajoke specifically that made her stand out compared to her siblings? I mean, of all the people that could have been chosen, it was Ajoke specifically. What makes her special, not only as someone in this book, but as, a character? What stands out about her?
I think Ajoke she was bold in a quiet way. She was quick to speak her mind, but she did that in a subtle manner. She was beautiful. She totally was a gorgeous, however way you picture Ajoke, she was physically beautiful. She was hardworking. She did it all. She cleaned. She was clean. So when it was time to go out, she practically was the only person they could send, And I know that there were 2 or 3 pages in the book where, she's begging and Papa says to her, you have to go, because you're the one who presents the best look and you're the one who works the hardest. And she says, no, Papa, no. Dayo and Yemisi have the same look. They have the same brains as I do. And her father said, you're underestimating yourself. You're underestimating yourself because you can do so much, you're so much smarter than you think. So she stood out in that sense. She stood out. So going to the village from her father's point maybe have been a practical manner, and maybe from her mother's sense is like, go, yeah, she's going because I don't want the other kids to go. And I don't get along with her, so she's going,
So Ajoke is just, she's just so different. She stands out, even in her own family, which is why, she's the one who's
the chosen one. Mm-hmm.
From my understanding, like you said, there are plenty of Ajokes in Nigeria. There are plenty of Ajokes even in other countries that also have house helps, and their stories never get heard. We never know about how they feel or what they go through. How do you think that extreme poverty has taken away the livelihood, or do you believe that extreme poverty has taken the livelihood and the opportunities for so many people who end up in similar positions as Ajoke?
Yeah, so many. It's even underreported because a lot of people just don't have it. And they come there and they struggle. And a lot of this, there is so many scenarios we can think of. We can even think of Ajoke and her coming there. And she was naturally a wayward child. If, say Mr. Folarin liked her, it would have been perfect for her.
And
because all of a sudden, she's being wanted and seen by somebody who is just so important, So all of those things could have happened to them. And this is how a lot of the girls, or even the boys, come there. We don't know what kind of abuse they go through. And they don't talk about these things because they're ashamed of it. A lot of girls won't even hear. People don't talk about rape. People don't talk about incest. People don't, because they can't. They're ashamed of it. And it's especially worse in a third world country where nobody has their back. I could do anything, and poverty, they give you a little bit of money. He gives her anything. If they give you anything, you're not even going to talk about it. But Ajoke's scenario was a little different because, she actually was, again, maybe liked by Wale. So, and even then she was hurt by him because of the reality of the fact that I'm not supposed to mess with you. You're the help. He struggled with that. That's why he walked away. He's like, I can't do this. I'm not supposed to be with you. So,
one thing that kind of resonated with me based off of what you just said, and of course I read the book, is that there's so much abuse that happens, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, mental, there's so much. Would you say that the reason why, there's no one in the book who receives any consequences is because you wanted it to mirror real life and how things really go?
Yes. Mama Salah, people, even some of my American friends were like, we can't even believe that. So no, the police didn't go to, and I'm like, the police? No. The fact that she could have dropped Ajoke on the street and there would have been no consequence. So she did good by even driving the car and getting to, taking Ajoke to the hospital. Because she could have, and there would be no consequence. None. Who was there to speak up for Ajoke? Mama Salah never came back to pay the bill. And she just simply brushed away the family because they're in Otta. There's nobody. How they come into Lagos? Who do they know in Lagos? You know. And another thing, and some of my friends brought out about the story because they felt Ajoke was really kind of abused with the Folaris even before she went to London. Even back there, like they felt like she wasn't treated right. But I reminded them that Ajoke never wanted to go home. Ajoke never slept on a bed. So she's here in her own room on a bed. So she's not thinking she's abused. She's happy, you know, as opposed to sleeping on the floor. So those were some of the, you know.
Would you say that Ajoke's lived experiences, you know, she never really had the experience of, oh, there's food regularly, I can sleep on a bed. Do you think that that might have impacted the way that she perceived her, I guess, relationship with Wale?
To her advantage, kind of, like, I think that's debatable. And that may be a blog question. It's debatable in the sense that she Ajoke herself feels, in my opinion, but you know, everybody has their own opinion, entitled at some point in a way. Because she's like, okay, now I'm in my bed, I'm in my room, and I don't want to really go back to the village anymore. And when I do go back to the village, I don't want to use the bathroom anymore, and I don't think I can eat their food anymore, and no way am I going to spend the night anymore. So at that point, she's equating herself. She's no longer, you know, she feels I'm here. And that's why sometimes when one day really treats her like the maid, which she is, she's a little bit like, you know, she's a little bit upset, subtle, you know, in a subtle way, that she has to think back and say, okay, I'm the maid, you know. But in terms of her relationship with Wale, I think it was just very innocent. But again, you know, we have different thoughts and thinking about it. Like somebody said, would Ajoke have fallen for Wale if he was a houseboy? Would she have fallen for him if he was a security guard? The same Wale, the same look. Okay, but not educated and doesn't belong to wealth. Would she have? That's, you know.
Only time can tell.
Yeah, that's a blog question.
Only time can tell. And maybe you could tell us what is next for Ajoke?
You have to read it. You have to read it. It's wild.
But after Endless Chances, what is next for Ajoke?
Oh, a lot. Too much. It's peaks and it's troughs and it's like, oh my God. And you have to read it. I promise.
So when can we expect that next book to drop?
I think it will drop, no doubt, in March. For sure, March 2023.
Okay, we'll be on the lookout for it.
Yes, it started January 2023. It's moved to February, but March for sure. It should be out then, yes.
So as an author, what would you say is your favorite book? And what do you look for in, you know, a book that you might want to read?
I'm horrible like that because when I started writing, I stopped reading because I said I don't want any book to influence how I feel. I just want to write the book. I want it to be original with my own thinking. But I love African novels. I love Lola Fasina's book, The Many Wives of Baba Segi. I love Chiamanda's book, The Half of a Yellow Sun. That really, to me, is the book. I love Sefi Atta's book. I read her books. I pretty much read a lot of her books too. Those are kind of like my favorite authors, but I read any good book, any referral. I loved, and I'm trying to remember his name, but if I'd say he's Middle Eastern. Something about 1,000 Suns. I read it a long time ago. And honestly, that was my favorite book. Or that is my favorite book.
1,000 Splendid Suns.
1,000 Splendid Suns. And when I started to read the book, I just couldn't put it down. I thought it was very well articulated, very well written. Yes. And I read a lot of books by referrals. If you tell me it's a good book, I'm running there to get it. So I can't wait to put down Endless Chances so I can catch up on all the books I should have been reading.
Of course.
For all these years.
We'll definitely make sure we get a list ready for you.
Yes.
Outside of reading and literature and, of course, pharmacy, what interests do you have?
I love to travel. If I had my way, I would travel every month. The last weekend of every month will be my time to go somewhere. I love to travel. That's kind of like my hobby. Mm-hmm.
In addition to travel, is there a specific cuisine that you prefer? Is there a specific country where, other than Nigeria, of course, where like
you know it was Nigeria.
I have to have their food.
It's so I like. Let me see what I like. I like fish. So in any which country the fish is prepared, I love fish. It's just terrible. My friends say, it has a lot of mercury, right? I'm like, I know, but fish, if I don't eat fish in like 2 or 3 days, I'm like, I need the fish. So whichever which cuisine, I'm very, very fussy about food. I have to admit. So I don't eat too much outside of, the American meal. But if you give me fish in any which way, I'll eat it. The Nigerian, flavored, Chinese, Middle Eastern, Indian. You can't go wrong with fish.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with fish.
Can't go wrong with fish and rice. Yeah.
That's like the staple Nigerian diet, some sort of fish and rice. Mm-hmm. Are there any musical artists that you're a big fan of? I'm huge
on, we joke with the kids, we say, look, let me tell you, if it wasn't for the Luther Vandross, if it wasn't for the Anita Bakers, you would not be born, okay? You were born because of those artists, so thank God to them. So I love Afro beats, the Kiss Daniel, like right now I am feeling Kiss Daniel, the Davidos, and I love techno. I love, of course, why is his name running out of my Wizkid? Everything he does is just gold. I love American artists. I like the slow, the slow jams, and and I know this is wrong. And my Roki's always my daughter. She's like, Mom, he's gonna call you auntie when he sees you, but I love Chris Brown. I feel like he can just sing anything. I know, and a lot of people don't like him, but he can sing. And I like, who else do I like? Tank. Yes, I like Kenny Lattimore. So I love music, but I find that, with the American music, I move more towards like the slow jams. And with the Afro beats, I'm like, yes, I want like Afro beats. I can't go wrong with that. Yes.
So it's February, and as you know, Nigerian election is coming up. How do you feel about it, and how do you think that the outcome is going to have an effect on the future of the country?
It's like when we talk about elections, for many years we've gone through it's been a cycle, and we don't even, there's really sometimes to me no growth or no progression. There has been, I'm not going to take it all away, but I feel like with the elections we need youth, we need a younger generation in power. We need people who can relate. So the world is evolving. And I feel like the people who are up there, the people who are running right now are not they're not clicking with what we need in the country. This is my personal opinion. I'm not rubbing on anyone. I'm just saying that we need somebody who could relate to the younger people. We have a lot of graduates in Nigeria that don't have jobs. We have, and unfortunately, or should I say fortunately, we have a lot of resources in that country, natural resources in that country that can be built upon. We have the oil, and if we could just make it work for the people there, if we have the agriculture, if we can have manufacturing. If we can just make it work for those people, I feel like as a nation we would grow and people won't suffer so much. And there won't be that far end of the poor, that, the rich. And it's just, maybe it would bring it together. It's not going to happen overnight, but it would be nice to see some progression. It would be nice to have electricity all day, every day, 24/7, And I feel like a young mind, somebody who's young and has lived in a place that has experienced it, can do it, can say, this can work, we can make this work. Just a simple thing as just having electricity all day, every day, and not having to queue. Right now we don't even have diesel, we don't even have petrol. I went to Nigeria in Christmas, and normally a journey that would take me an hour was taking me 3-4 hours because the lines were blocking the streets. It was just awful. So we need that. And Nigeria is such a great country, as you know. It's a wonderful country, but we need people who would pull it up for us and not say, because I've done it and I've been a minister and I need to be the president. We don't need that. We need people who would actually do something and not do something for their pockets. Do something for the people, in my opinion.
Thank you so much for interviewing with us today. It has truly been a pleasure. We love your book, and we are so excited to see what is going to come in your future. We are hoping that as you continue to grow and as your book continues to grow and you get a larger fan base, that the world will finally get to experience the essence of Ajoke. For those who are watching, you can find the book on pretty much any platform where you sell books, and you can follow Dr. Fashina on Instagram at Lola Fashina. And thank you.
Thank you.